Hello, 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 Facebook land, as well as YouTube. We are still having a bit of technical difficulties. That's why we're running a little behind. But welcome, welcome, welcome to The Truth with Cursha. I am your host, Cursha Riley. And we just wanted to come back up here and talk with you guys some more about domestic violence. If you watched last week, you did hear that I did share my experience of domestic violence, and actually had to realize that I even went through it, and how important knowing the signs and knowing the different types are. So today we're doing things a little different. I actually have a guest with us that I admire. She is, let's see how I can describe her. I met her recently. She's an author. She is a woman of God. When I say a powerhouse, he lives deep inside her. He lives in this woman. Um, she is a counselor. She is a mom. She is a wife. She is a sister. She understands what it means to be a sister's keeper. She understands what it means to come and step into someone else's shoes and take on the different things that needs to happen. Like me, for instance, I call her my spiritual mom, guys. So she is here with us, none other than Dr. Pratt. I'm going to actually bring her on right now. I was going to wait a little bit and go over some things, but we're going to start now. Everyone, welcome Dr. Pratt, the author of Reset, which is available right now on Amazon.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much
for
for
having me
having me
today.
today. You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's
It's
indeed a
indeed a
pleasure
pleasure
to
to
be
be
on
on
your
your
side. The
side.
truth
Truth
with
with
Cursha.
Cursha. Yes, yes. It feels good to have you here. It really feels good to have you here. I know that we shared, guys, we were connected before we got on. We shared, things get in the way. But what I have learned that when you are telling the truth that is going to set people free, the enemy is supposed to get in the way of that. That means that they're
Absolutely.
doing their job. So
Absolutely.
we're okay with that right now.
And
And
like I
like I
shared with
shared
you
with you
before,
before,
this is
this is
not
not
something
something
that
that
I've
I've
ever
ever
shared.
shared.
This is
This is
not a
not a
platform for
platform for
me. This is
me. This
not
is not
something that I'm
something that I'm
comfortable with.
comfortable with.
But
But
after
after
listening to
listening
your
to your
story
story
and
and
when I
when I
became a
became a
counselor,
counselor,
a
a
spiritual
spiritual
counselor,
counselor,
I
I
realized
realized
that
that
God
God
allowed me to
allowed me
go
to go
through
through
some of the
some of the
things that I
things that I
went
went
through
through
to
to
help
help
others
others
push
push
through it.
through it.
And
And
so
so
I was
I
like,
was
it's
like, it's
time for
time
me
for
to
me to
really come
really
out of
come
my
out of my
shell
shell
and come
and
out of
come
my
out of my
comfort
comfort
zone
zone
and
and
let
let
people know
people know
that
that
domestic
domestic
violence
violence
is
is
real
real. Right.
and it
And it
comes
comes
in
in
different
different
ways,
ways,
different facets of
facets of
life,
life,
and
and
it's
it's
not
not
always
always
shared.
shared.
It's
It's
not
not
something
something
that
that
you
you
can
can
easily
easily
talk
talk
about.
about.
It's
It's
not
not
something
something
that
that
people
people
look to
look to
hear
hear
because
because
they
they
might
might
judge
judge
you,
you,
or
or
you
you
might
might
feel
feel
like
like
you're
you're
being
being
judged,
judged,
um,
um,
or
or
you're
you're
crying.
crying.
I've
I've
heard
heard
this
this
too.
too.
You're
You're
crying
crying
victim.
victim. Right.
So
So
this is
this is
something
something
that really
that really
needs to
needs
be
to be
talked
talked
about,
about.
because it
Because it
doesn't
doesn't
only
only
happen in
happen
a
in a
home.
home.
It
It
happens in
happens
the
in the
church,
church,
happens on
happens
the
on the
workplace,
workplace, right?
different
Different
places
places
that
that
domestic
domestic
violence
violence
takes
takes
place.
place. It does, and I'm glad you just hit that because I had to realize this week the different situations that we find ourselves in that actually does match domestic violence. We always think of it as just a relationship, and
Right.
all relationships are relationships. Whether it's that person trying to silence you because they feel like you're better than, even though you ain't never say that. You didn't even
Exactly.
think that. It's like, where did that come from? I don't feel that way. I actually admire you. And it's like they try to silence you. They try to put you in a box, and it's like, listen, I can't live in that box. I can't be
That's
that.
the controlling spirit, where they try to suppress who you are, because I always say that sometimes our light shines too bright for someone else, and then they'll try to diminish who you are as a person so that you won't shine.
Right.
But
Right.
what people fail to realize is when you serve a God, when you genuinely serve a God, you don't have to put forth effort to make sure your light shine, because it's going to shine by your works, by what you do. It's going to come from the inside out.
Yes. Yes. So that brings me to my first question. Who is Dr. Pratt?
Who I? I think you described that in your introduction. First and foremost, I am a faith walker. I'm a survivor, and I am a true woman of God. I love the Lord. Um, that's my foundation. That's how I've been able to push through a lot of adversity, push through a lot of boundaries. I'm a mom, a daughter, a grandmother of 5, and a newly married woman of soon to be 6 months to a wonderful man named Garrett Pratt.
Amen. Yes.
So, who am I? I'm just a chosen vessel that has been broken, abused, misused, some would say misunderstood, and still walking in faith to do what God has ordained me to do.
Amen. Amen. That's right. Broken and beautiful.
Thank you.
Because you were broken. You're broken. We think about that song, Beauty and Ashes and everything. Every time I go through your book, and I'm still not done with the book. Guys, this ain't no book that you just pick up, you read, and be like, all right, I'm done. No, it's going to make you deal with you. It's going to get you right. It's going to do just what it says. Reset. It's gonna do
And actually, I just got 2 calls from another publishing company about this book, and I was like, wow, God.
Look at
And
God.
I'm like, yeah, God is opening up some doors, because I do self-publishing, and God has really blessed me and given me gifts to help other people become publishers. But when a publishing company starts looking at you for your book,
Yeah.
that's just God.
Yeah.
And the book is just what it says. It's okay to start over. Some people think starting over is a failure. No, starting over is a blessing.
Yes.
Push the button and start over. Like Pastor Lassiter talking in the last series about letting it go. I was sharing with my husband yesterday, and I was talking about being nervous because it's not something that I really talked about, and that this was not my comfort zone. And immediately the Spirit said, brought me back to when Reverend Lassiter was like, it's okay, we got to let some stuff go. We're holding on to things. That means we're still in bondage.
That's right.
We're still oppressed, and how can we move on into a better relationship, not with just someone else, but with ourselves,
Right.
if we're holding on to bitterness,
That's
or
right.
we're holding on to the brokenness,
Yeah.
or even holding on to the abuse,
That's right.
and some people ask me, well, how did you let it go? It's not something you can just let go.
Mm-hmm.
I went to therapy for 2 years when I was abused. But again, back then, it wasn't discussed.
Right.
You
Right.
know, the abuse wasn't discussed. And then, people ask you, well, how did you push through that? Or how do you get a man? Or how many times you been married? They ask you all of these different questions. But the bottom line is, when you learn to forgive, you begin to live.
That's right.
You
That's
have
right.
to forgive.
Oh, having a little bit of technical going on over here. But yes, you are right. Especially when you mention uh, Doc, Reverend Dr. Randall Moses Lassiter,
That's
who
it.
is our head, our shepherd at the historic Calvary Baptist Church. So we do want to say thank you to
Thank
him for
you
always
for our pastor.
encouraging us and pushing us. He is in the middle, guys, of a series called Let It Go. So when I started last week, it was going through that with him, the Let It Go process. I realized, just like she said, if you don't let go of that bitterness, if you don't let go of the use, which for me was talking, I needed to talk. I needed to be honest about what it was that happened. And I needed to look in the mirror and go, it's okay. You went through that, you overcame that, but you didn't overcome that on your own. I had to realize who helped me through this was the grace of God, like I told you guys in the last episode. Brings me to my next question, or should I say statement. Share with us your experience and how you began to notice the signs and ultimately how you overcame.
My experience was very traumatic. Um, I was married at the time. I was much younger, and I was dealing with more of someone who was dealing with narcissistic ways. Um, Wanted to control, wanted to um, keep you away from your family. It started with the grabbing. I just want to talk to you. It started with the stalking. Started with coming to the job, and just coming to the church. And um but at that time, you don't realize it. You think it's love. You you think you're in love, and you think this person cares about you. Not saying that at the time he didn't care about me, but I remember sitting at the dining room table, and my daughter was about 7 at that time, and she made a statement, and it kind of hit me, and it was like, um you're not happy. you know he's not kind to you. And sometimes we just overlook it because of our situation. We just try to just push it under the rug you know but it wasn't until one night the person came home and started an argument for no reason. And I was writing at the time. I always did journaling. For some reason, I was always into journaling and just writing things down and just being creative. And I was trying to avoid the argument and just trying to avoid the foolishness, and didn't want to wake the kids and all of that. And took the journal and threw it in the fireplace. And at that point, I was just crushed. And so those were some of the signs. That's basically how it began. And when my journal was thrown in the fireplace, I felt like my life was just thrown in the fireplace. And so at that time, I knew I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision, not just for myself, but I had to make a decision for the well being of my children. And so I sought a way out. but I saw a way out in a way that the person wouldn't know.
Right.
So I called, my brother-in-law at the time, and I talked to him about a strategy. And we went through the strategy and made it happen. But that's not where it ends. It doesn't end there because I went back, or should I say, even when I got out, I allowed him to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Because we hear the I'm sorry's, we hear the it won't happen again,
Right.
and we hear the I was going through this or I was going through that. But what makes us receive them back?
Yeah.
It's the love that we have in our heart, looking for, not just saying looking for love, but looking for the good in a person.
That's right.
And sometimes we make our mistakes by thinking that everybody has the same heart that we have, and that's not true. I
Mm-hmm.
remember my mother said to me some time ago, she says, there are mean people in this world, you know, and I used to ask God, like, why do you give me this kind heart? Why do I have to be so nice all the time? Because people will take advantage of that situation. But the signs are there
Right.
when they start yelling at you, or when they start, talking down to you, or when they start grabbing on you. Those are signs of domestic violence. When people don't allow you to move the way you want to move, or when people try to prevent you from going someplace
Yeah.
or from seeing someone else, those are signs of control.
Yeah.
And in my book, I talk about boundaries. We all have boundaries, right? We have physical boundaries, we have emotional boundaries. And these are things that we're not taught when we're growing up. We're not taught that private space.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a relationship, you think, oh, I'm just in that relationship, I have to be submissive, I have to do as this person says.
Right.
That's it. But that's not true. That's not
Right.
true. The domestic violence is not always physical. It's not physical. It's emotional, and it can be spiritual too. Because sometimes people can get into your head and have you thinking that you're the one crazy when you know good and well, I'm not the one.
Yep.
But that's that mindset. That's that mind power that they try to have and manipulate your thinking. And
Yeah.
when you're younger, sometimes we think it's love.
Yeah.
Oh, I care about you. I love you. That's why I'm telling you this. That's why you don't need to go see your family. That's why you don't need to be around these friends because they're no good for you. Trying to manipulate your mind.
Right.
My abuse started to get worse when I realized that this was not for me. Now I'm not working one job, but I'm working two jobs. It's called avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm not spending that much time, anger builds up,
Right.
animosity starts to happen, right? But I'm still going on my daily routines. I'm still doing what I'm supposed to do, but I'm working myself crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So now the stalking, are you really working? So now the stalking is happening. It got really physical when I said, I'm done and I'm leaving. And that's when it got physical, to the point where it was, I just want to talk to you now.
Right.
I just want to make it right. But it wasn't about making it right. It was about trying to control me to get me to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When I made up my mind that I wasn't going back, but either I'm going to have you or nobody will.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That is a big one. Like when I shared last week, that was major for me because you don't although you want to tell your truth, you don't want to harm others. You have gotten to a place where you have healed, you've moved on. Maybe you have had a moment to sit down with that person, forgive them, or whatever it is your healing process is. For me, that person, I was able to have a conversation with that person. Certain things we didn't bring up in that conversation because I didn't want to trigger anything.
Right.
But they went their way, I went mine. We both wish each other well. Congratulations
Right.
in life. But that's about it. So for me, it was hard because I had the ex, and then I also had family. So
Mhm.
now I'm telling family secrets while I'm also telling relationship secrets all at the same
All
time.
at the same time.
Right. But I realized in this process of letting go that we're going through in our home church, I had to do these things. I had to let it go. I had to provide a safe place for women like you and me to be able to have that voice and speak up and go, me too.
Right.
That did happen. Here's how I got out. Here's what I saw. Because, like I said on the last episode, if someone would have been open with me enough to say, that's not okay, those
Mhm.
things are not normal, I may not have went through it as long. I'm not saying I may not have went through it ever, but I may not have sat there as long
Right.
as I
That's
did
all.
because I would have had that. Guys, I'm gonna keep saying Sister's Keeper because when you read her book and you get her book, she's gonna talk about that in the book. Um, I would have had my sister's keeper who could have said, "Listen, you're losing yourself. This is not who you are. There's a better way." Um,
And you're right.
so
We do tend to lose ourselves, especially when it comes to love. And you really love a person. You do. You lose yourself. Anybody to say that they don't lose themselves, they're lying. They're not
yeah,
being honest with who they are as a person, because the emotions are there.
yeah,
And a lot of times when you care about somebody, you sometimes you remove yourself for that person,
right.
or you try to you, you try to do what you can to make sure that that person is good,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes you neglect your own self because you want that relationship to work.
Right.
Even with girlfriends, even not just saying a male friend, even with your girlfriend, sometimes you sacrifice, or you
That's
might go
right.
above and beyond, and that other person may not go above and beyond. You might be the giver, they might be the receiver all the time. But then you
Mm-hmm.
get to a place, well, I want to keep my friendship. If it's not two ways, then you know what? Sometimes you got to just let it go.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
That
know,
is
I
true
know
because we do it
I'm
all
a
the time.
yeah,
We do it
I'm a
all
giver.
the time.
I'm a giver. I love people, and I will do anything to help people. I am a sister's keeper. If I know my sister is going through something and I can help, I am going to help. But in relationships, it sometimes you find yourself in a position where it's like you don't want to be by yourself. Um, you want this to work out. I don't want to go through a divorce. But you know
Right.
what? Divorce is not bad. If you have to
Wow.
divorce somebody to save yourself, let them be and let them free
That's right.
and live your life. Let it go. Reset. Push the button.
Yes, yes.
Okay? Push the button. And you grow. God gives you wisdom and you begin to learn, My faith, I'm telling you, I know God has kept me because I've
Yes.
had relationships that I stuck it out for the wrong
Mm-hmm.
reason, you know? But then God gave me the strength to say, you know what? You deserve better. You got to know your
Right.
worth.
Right.
You got to
Right.
know not just who you are, but whose you are,
That's right.
right? God gave us some promises to stand on.
That's right.
And he didn't promise us that we were going to be abused. He didn't say that, we had to settle and stay in abusive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
be it physical or mental. That's not of God.
That's
So
right.
we have to learn that sometimes when people have extremely controlling behaviors, we have to be able to identify those behaviors and know that they're not healthy behaviors.
Right.
When you realize that there's certain things that's not healthy for you, you'll learn to let it go.
Right. Right.
You'll learn to let
Right.
it go. That's like sickness. Even when something sickness come upon you, and you know good and well you got hypertension, or you have diabetes, but yet you want to continue to eat salt or sugar,
Mm-hmm.
or things that's not going to be good for your well-being, right? Some
That's
stuff
right.
you got to learn to let go. If you want to live, you have to let those things go. Even in a relationship, if it's not healthy for you, you find yourself crying, or you find yourself overeating, binging, because you're not happy, or you're not in a safe space, or you're not content with who you are. So now you're doing things that
Right.
you shouldn't do, because what? You're not happy. Some people may turn to drugs, some may turn to alcohol, some may turn to sex. But whatever it is that's causing you to do those things, it's not healthy.
That's right. That's right. I realized recently, I want to say a couple of years ago, I had to sit and realize happiness comes from me. It doesn't come from the other person. And I believe most of my life, I always believed it was their job
To
to
make you
make me happy. So if they wasn't making me happy, or if I was getting smacked that week or yelled at, and so I would bottle all my happiness up in that person or that thing. So
Mhm.
once they were done, keeping me happy, now my happiness was gone. I didn't
Wow.
realize that God had given me happiness. He had given me joy. He had given me love. He gave me all those things that were inside of me that I just needed to tap into and realize it's my responsibility for my
And it
happiness.
is. You
And if they
suppress
are getting, yes, yes, if they're
suppress
getting in the
happiness.
way, you got to remove whatever that is. And you said it earlier. You said the divorce isn't bad. I think a lot of people look at it as a negative because you're married, but I don't think they realize that we divorce people every day that we're not married to.
Every day.
Every day. It's the same process. The only difference is this now is a little more legal because we unsigned our name
Right.
on the dotted line.
Right. We got a
That's
covenant,
it. But other
the
than that, you
contract.
are divorcing every day, every way. I tell you, I divorced the show this
Absolutely.
morning because of technical difficulties, and I'm still here. But we divorce things all the time, and it's really not in a sense of divorcing. I look at it as decluttering.
Mm-hmm.
That person has cluttered up a space that someone else is meant to be in.
Yep.
They don't have the capabilities to do what is necessary in that space. That's
Mm-hmm.
just like a boss. If you do not have the qualifications or the skill set or whatever it is that they need, it do say on that paper, I can terminate you without
They're
cause.
gonna get rid of you. They're gonna get rid of
It's
you.
the same thing.
Yep. It's the
I
same
can't keep
thing.
something that's keeping me harmed. But I do think as women, as men, as people that are finding themselves in these situations, that they have lost a sense of self. And it is because of what you said earlier, not knowing their worth, not
Not
seeing their worth anymore, and not having someone to speak into them and tell them, listen, you are still loved. You can fight back. Enough is enough.
hmm. And I
I'm a
thank God
woman
that
around
I
here.
had a foundation. I had, my mom, my aunt Barbara, may she rest in peace. She poured so much into me. And then I have an amazing godmother, who instilled so much into me as far as being a lady at all times, just being classy, just loving who I am as a woman. So I had a good foundation.
Yes.
I don't carry jealousy or envy or all of that in my spirit, because first of all, that's not of God. That's just number one.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I know who I am. I'm Janeide. There is no other Janeide, and then that's just it. Um but I thank God that I did have the foundation that I had, because it helped me to push through a lot of the barriers and a lot of the brokenness that I experienced, because of who I am. My strength comes from God. God gives me the strength to get through some of the things that people don't even know of, you know um and I'm so grateful for that. And a lot, like I said, this is not a platform for me where I share a lot of my personal stuff or my personal life on social media, but I feel like when you have to let go some things, you really have to let go. And that might even include family and friends.
Yes.
And
Yes.
being being at the historical church at Calvary, was an eye opener for me. My husband and I talk about that all the time. And God makes no mistakes. He really makes no mistakes. He will bring things full circle, because letting go in my book Reset basically was a confirmation for me. And I used to always say, well, I can't do this because, or I can't do that because, or worrying about what this person may say, or what that person might say. But what about how I feel? What about what I desire? What about what I would like? And we
Yeah.
get so caught up on worrying about the other person, or worrying about something that doesn't even mean you any good. So
Hmm.
we have to learn to let people go, let
Yes.
the brokenness go, let the abuse go. I did have an opportunity to speak to my abuser. My abuser apologized to me, said that God told him that he needed to apologize to me.
Wow.
Almost 30 years later, I'm getting an apology. But see, God has a way of doing things. He'll do a full circle without you even knowing it.
Right.
A person knows when they've done you wrong. But see, even when we have weak moments, we think that we're supposed to settle.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. We're supposed to be still and know that God is God,
Hmm.
right? Because when we settle, we mess up. We got to be still and just trust God and trust the process.
So, guys, I know you're looking like her eyes is all over the place. I'm trying to work this system. Like I told y'all last week, I be trying to do it. But I'm using my husband's laptop. And my husband, just a little funny story. He got some moisture on his laptop and he thought if he just used a dryer to dry it, it would work. So it's missing a lot of keys, guys. I'm working with a laptop that is missing a lot of keys. But bless his heart, right? He's trying to help us out as much as possible.
Amen. That's right.
Um, so yes, 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 yes. So we talked about your experience in the signs. So I do want to take a moment for anyone that is watching that is going through this or knows someone that is going through this. I'm gonna try to do this. I told you I'm working with a few keys here, um, just so we can put the hotline number. This is the New Jersey Domestic Violence Hotline number. It is 1-800-572-7233. I have placed that number up there again for you guys. If you know anyone that is in need of help, use that number. Maybe you're in need of help, and this show has just showed you the different signs. I really want you to take the time before even calling, take the time, get a notebook out, get a pen, write down some of these things. A lot of times we say write pros and cons. I need
Mhm.
you to write out the experiences and the different things that you have went through in your own life and really see what is God telling you. Is this your truth? Is your truth that it's a real happiness? Or is your truth that that was just a mask and this is something that you're telling yourself to get through? So maybe that is your act of survival, should I say. But it's time that we get out. It's time that we say enough is enough. My life matters. My happiness matters. We
Right.
divorce the things that threaten our happiness. As long as our happiness are positive things and not
Right.
negative things. I do want you guys to understand that. I'm not saying go out and do negative things. I am saying as long as your happiness is geared up in the right thing, if someone is trying to stop that, if there is something that God has told you to do and they're getting in the way of that, we have learned from Dr. Pratt that is manipulation, guys. Do not allow that either. Do not minimize yourself. We
Right.
have to stop minimizing ourselves. We are natural nurturers, caretakers. We love and we want to just give our all the time. You know, they have that title to ride or die. Listen, we gotta stop dying because we
Mm-hmm.
riding and dying.
That's right.
That's really what's happening. We have
Exactly what's
to stop.
happening.
We have to
and,
stop.
and
It's
we're not
time that
living
we.
and we're not living to our full potential, because
Yeah.
sometimes the abusers, they're dealing with extreme jealousy, right? They're dealing with possessiveness, they're dealing with unpredictability, they're dealing with bad tempers, they're dealing with anger, and sometimes it's not even you, it's what they're dealing with,
Right.
but they're bringing it upon you, right? And so we're not realizing that their behavior is just dysfunctional.
Right.
You say, oh, everybody's family is dysfunctional. Okay, there's dysfunction, but then there's extreme dysfunction, because there's no perfect person, there's no perfect family. But when you're dealing with verbal abuse and emotional abuse, just know that that's not healthy.
Yep.
It's not healthy behavior, and no one needs to be subjected to that.
And you know what I also realized too, while we're going through what we're going through, it's now learned behavior that we now subject onto our children and other people. A lot of times I'll see a worker or even a parent and they're yelling, they're going nuts on the kid or on the person. And then I have to sit and think, what are you going through at home? Why do you think that that's love? That's
Right.
not love.
Right.
That is not love. Nobody hugged you, nobody loved on you. Something there is missing in
Exactly.
order for you to think that that's love. Because a lot of times, and especially when it comes down to domestic violence, I realize that the parents, a lot of times for the situations I've seen, um, myself was a little different because the person who was abusing me was not the biological parent of my child. So for me, my child was my saving grace. It was that battery in my back to say, nope, this is not what we see for our future.
Right.
He's not going to see this. This is what we have to get out of. But a lot of times I see, and I've had friends where they're trying to hold on to that relationship so much, and you're seeing it happen. I've even had someone that lived under me.
Mm.
Um, and mind you, me and my son's apartment was my very first apartment. We were in one of the worst areas alone, but our apartment was cute. Um, and I would listen to this girl get beat. I would listen to different things, and I'm tapping on we're above her, so I'm tapping. I'm like, get out, even though I'm petrified. Like, what if he comes up here, for us? But I'm like, this girl got to get out. And I knew her personally. And at
Mhm.
first, I didn't know that I knew the girl. But we happened to run into each other, and I was like, that's not it. And I
Mm.
found myself telling her, and then had to realize you might want to take your own advice. That is
Right.
not it. How about
Wow.
y'all join together? And she got her life right, and I'm actually connected with her now, and I love it. Seeing how she has grown and how she stands her ground and she fights for her happiness and her children's happiness. I think a lot of times we, as we were saying, we lose ourselves in the other person's
Person.
happiness, and we think if we just love you, we could love the hell out of you, and make it all better. But it's not our job.
Nope.
It's really not
Not.
our job.
It's really
I
not.
am all for a therapist and a Bible any
Mm-hmm.
day,
Any day.
any
Any
day.
Psalms 142 will cry upon the Lord.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, therapy works. And people think therapy is a negative connotation towards it, but it's really not. Therapy helps in many ways.
yeah,
Many ways. It helps you identify um things in life that you wouldn't normally identify, and not just for abuse, just general living, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with therapy. If you feel like you need therapy, go see a therapist, a licensed
yes.
therapist or a spiritual therapist. Just get a therapist,
Somebody.
somebody that you can talk to, because you can't always talk to your family members, and sometimes abuse happens in your family. You can't talk about that either, you know there's a lot of abuse going on in family members, and they're not discussing it.
Yeah.
Those are things that's brushed under the rug.
Yes.
So if you
Yes.
find that you need somebody to talk to, get you somebody to talk to, because that's where your healing is going to manifest, by
That's
talking
right.
about it, praying about it, and letting it go. And I
That,
always have a hashtag: forgive and live. Forgive them and live. Live your life.
that's right. As we said last segment, everyone knows someone. Um, so do not take this lightly. This can be life or death. I went live last Friday. I learned of a death by my neighbor's. It was my neighbor's cousin that following Sunday, this past Sunday, and it hurt. It
Mm.
hurt to see that a life was lost to domestic violence and that nobody was there for her or nobody could see the signs and save her. She was in a different state, but it still pulled on me and it made me realize how necessary us speaking out and speaking our truth really is. So, like Ms. Pratt said, you get the help that you need by all means necessary. But one of the things I did want to point out with your story was when you were getting out, you were very strategic in how you were doing it. You moved in silence, and I feel like God gave you those instructions of how to get out safely. Can you talk about the importance of getting out safely?
When you have children involved, you have to think of them first. And so, again, I stated that I had called my brother-in-law because I knew he had a moving truck. So, that was one thing I did. And secondly, I made sure I had somewhere to go first.
Yes.
So I started looking for an apartment. I landed the apartment. And then, um, after landing the apartment, I contacted my brother in law at the time, and I told him exactly when I needed to move.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a strategic plan, because if you don't, then things can go left.
Yes.
But always tell somebody what you're doing, and always make sure that if you have children, that they're in a safe place. So
Yes.
I always had my mom around. So I always made sure that, my girls were good, So I did it on a weekend where I knew that they would be with my mother. And then this way, I can do what I need to do once the person left the house in the morning. Now I have all day to pack up and be out. So that was my strategic plan. And then I changed my address, changed my mailing address. So these are things you have to think about. But I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. I just knew I had to get out. I don't even think I thought about it. I just know that I had to get out. I knew I needed to find safety. And so that's what I did. And sometimes our way is not the best way, but sometimes we have to trust God, even when we don't know. When we don't know what to do, we have to trust God. And I trusted God that He was going to get me out of there. And He did, because everything fell into place. Everything fell into place. And a lot of times, we don't think that God hears our prayers or that God is not answering us, but God is answering us. He's also answering our prayers. It may not be when we want them answered, but He's definitely answering our prayers. There's the
Yes.
saying, He may not come when you want Him, but He's
There you go.
always on time. He's always on time. And we have to be reminded that faith is the substance of things hoped for. Evidence is the substance of things not seen. We don't always see things the way we want to see it. It's not always in front of us. It's not always visible. But as long as we hold on to the faith that God has given us, It will manifest. Things will come to pass. It hasn't always been easy, but it's been worth it, because a lot of the things that God has brought me through,
Mm-hmm.
carried me from, has allowed me to pour into other young women and be a
Yes.
blessing to other people. And it also showed me how not to treat people, you know? So I thank God for my stories. I thank God for my testimonies. I thank God for my trials, because my trials made me a better woman. My trials made me stronger. The things that I went through. And let me just say this. Sometimes when we go through things that women, we harden our hearts. And God will put somebody in our lives, and then we're hard to that person when we should be soft to that person, right? So we have to be mindful that we don't allow the past mistakes and
Yes.
past hurts and the past failures to
Right.
destroy where God has taken us.
Right.
And when He puts people in your lives, love them the way that they're supposed to be loved.
Yes.
That's what we have to hone into. We have to love people where they are, and love them the way that God wants us to love them. Not bring in all of this anger and bitterness and animosity into another relationship that you didn't want to be in. Be strategic. If you have to get out, tell somebody that you can trust. Tell somebody that you know genuinely loves you and cares for you and cares about your well being. But be strategic about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the question I know everyone wants to know again is, how can they get your book? How can they book you? How can they meet you? Go on and lay it all out for them.
Well, my book Reset, like I said, is available on Amazon.com, and it's also available on Barnes and Nobles. Um, I had two publishing companies looking to get my book, so I don't know what publishing company I'm going to go with just yet, but that will be in the making. For right now, you can purchase it on Amazon.com. If you would like to book me, you can book me at janidechillis@gmail.com. I am on Instagram under Dr. J. Pratt, and I'm on Facebook under Janeide A. Matthews-Pratt.
Yay.
And also, we're going to be having our first Reset
Yes.
conference, which is pretty awesome. Things are also falling into place. We're going to have some amazing speakers and one keynote speaker, Dr. Head. Oh my God, she's out of Pennsylvania. Dr. Haley, she's going to be our keynote speaker, and we're going to have some amazing vendors, and we're going to be talking about the book Reset. Each
Yes.
person is going to have an acronym, and they're going to speak on what it is in that book. So I'm
Oh,
looking forward to that. That's going to be March 12th, 2022 at the Noodle and Eves in Haledon, New Jersey.
so y'all heard her. Y'all heard it here. Get your book. Get your book. I'm an Amazon lover, but I happen to know her personally and was able to get this from her in person. Um, but this book helps. This book has helped. This book has ignited something in me that I did not know was dying off. So
Amen.
when she say don't be afraid to hit that button of reset today. We're not saying wait till you get the book. We're not saying wait till her conference. We're not saying wait for nothing. We saying hit the button today.
Day,
Reset.
it is
As they
over.
say, new blessings every morning. Every day that you open your eyes is a new morning. It's a new opportunity. So again, I would like to thank Miss Dr. Pratt for coming on to The Truth with
You
Cursha.
for having me. Thank you
Thank
so much. It has been a truly, truly honor to be on your show, The Truth with Cursha.
you. All
And
right,
many
so
blessings to you as well.
thank you. Thank you. Everyone wave to her goodbye. This is not the last time you guys will see her on this show. because there's a lot in her. If you guys have been following my social media, I did a post today, and then I did a little slide photo of her, which is one of her promo pieces, and it shows the multiple books. This is a library in itself. She is a walking, breathing library of
Man.
living resources that we all need, men and women. So you see her name, you heard where to find her, get connected. Even if it's not to buy a book, get connected because you don't know what she has inside of her that you may need eventually.
Amen.
So
Amen.
again, thank you, Miss Pratt.
Thank you. You guys have a blessed Friday.
Bye.
Thank
So, guys, that is all for this episode today, on The Truth with Cursha. I want to thank you guys for being very patient with me and waiting for me. We were having a lot of different difficulties, set changes, you name it, everything was happening. I do want to come on and say something briefly because my husband is very funny. He did comment and say, correction, the kids spilled juice over the whole laptop. So sorry, Bay. He didn't spill it, but the kids spilled it. Okay. So sorry, Bay. He was just trying to be the responsible adult and clean up the mess. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in and joining us for another episode of The Truth with Kersha. I will see you guys next week and every Friday until God tells me not to at 12 p.m. Bye.